You pull away from the gas station after a full fill-up, you look at your dashboard, and you realize the fuel needle is still sitting on dead empty, or maybe it is jumping around like it is possessed by a ghost. Even worse, you notice your distance to empty display is showing 0 miles while that orange check engine light ruins your day. This is the classic headache of code P0461, which is a range and performance error for the fuel level sensor circuit. Now, the EFLES is basically a floating arm assembly sitting inside your gas tank, and its only job is to turn the physical level of fuel into an electrical signal for the engine computer. This code is a bit unique because it is a rationality check. The computer is constantly monitoring how much fuel you are using based on your driving and comparing it to what the sensor says. If you refuel your car while the engine is still running or even with the ignition in the on position, the fuel level rises too fast for the computer's logic, and it sets this code because it thinks the sensor has glitched out or is giving an impossible reading. It is also a very common issue on Ford trucks where an aftermarket remote start system has been installed improperly, which confuses the data bus and triggers a false alarm. In some vehicles with saddle tanks, you might even have 2 sensors, so you need to check which one is giving the bad data. Before you go through the backbreaking labor of pulling the fuel pump module or dropping the heavy tank, you need to check the electrical connector at the top of the tank. Since this area is constantly exposed to road salt, mud, and moisture, the metal pins inside the plug often turn a nasty shade of green from corrosion. This high resistance makes the signal erratic and drives the gauge absolutely crazy. Pull the connector apart, give it a good scrub with electrical contact cleaner and a small plastic brush, and then pack it with dielectric silicone grease to seal out the moisture for good. If the wiring is pristine, use your digital volt ohm meter to check the resistance of the sensor itself. A healthy sensor should show a steady ohm reading that changes smoothly as the float arm moves, like 80 ohms for a half-full tank. If the reading stays at 0 or shows an infinite loop, the internal rheostat on the sensor has failed and it is time for a new pump module. Handling this early is the only way to make sure you do not end up stranded on the side of the road with a bone-dry tank while your gauge is still telling you that you have half a tank left. Verify those connections first and you will save yourself a lot of stress and a very expensive tow bill.